Hello everyone, Michael Leibson here coming to you live from MKE News in New York City. The year is 2000. As we transition into a new century, we at MKE News thought it would be suitable to reminisce over our society within the Big Apple and comprehend how it led us into our modern day lives. In this report, we'll be discussing the effects of New York City's most prominent and influential culture, the hip-hop culture. Hip-hop was pioneered directly out of New York City, and throughout the 80s and 90s spread around the nation as a worldwide phenomenon. It is important to understand that hip-hop culture digs far beyond the music industry, yielding expression through fashion, dancing, poetry, and graffiti. The critical question is, was the prevalence of hip-hop culture in the 80s and 90s beneficial or detrimental to society in New York City? Let's take a look.
One for the trouble, two for the bass. You know the style tip, it's time to flip this. I like my beats hard like 2-day-old.
The hip-hop culture can be defined as the constantly evolving spirit and consciousness of urban youth that keeps recreating itself in a never-ending cycle. Figuratively, the movement is cannibalistic, considering it thrives by feeding off of its own ideals and advocates. It is no question that hip-hop achieved dominance within New York City society, but exactly what characteristics did the culture yield that allowed it to affect the city to such a degree? One of the culture's key components was its ability to act as an enormous outlet for all of New York City's vibrant expression. Hip-hop is entirely freedom-based with no restrictions, giving youth in New York City the ability to express themselves. This was prevalent within rap and poetry, and lyrics often contained personal anecdotes and philosophical advice. New York City's rapper Immortal Technique implements political standpoints in his lyrics, which then become absorbed through the public eye as opinionated media.
I'm stuck inside the future, and life is chaotic. The government is psychotically racist and robotic. The matrix of entrapment is socio-economic. Neurotic conspiracy theory becomes reality.
Graffiti was also an extremely vital aspect of hip-hop in terms of expression. Artists would tag vacant walls in public areas so that they could convey their message to the mass audience. A common stereotype intertwined within hip-hop is its frequent association with violence. Professor Gretchen Cundiff at Along University would agree with this association because she views hip-hop as a negative influence on the audience, considering the reoccurring references to drugs, gangs, and misogynistic scenarios. Big L, a rapper from Harlem, was notorious within hip-hop for his intense, violent lyricism and his heavy involvement amongst the street scene.
Mad cause I be sexing divas. I should pull this pistol out and make you touch your sneakers. I'm on some cool out shit, but I will pull this tool out quick and put some holes in your new outfit. You frontin' hard.
Gang involvement persisted in New York City, and in 1990, NYPD had to increase the amount of police on duty drastically. In opposition to Professor Cundiff's view on hip-hop's effect towards society, hip-hop never actually endorsed violence, yet it did advocate and promote love. Although police presence grew, crime rates began diminishing once the hip-hop culture enabled all individuals, whether struggling or not, to unite and come together with common interest. In the early 90s, crime rates dropped dramatically. Violent crime declined about 56% in the city, and property crimes tumbled about 65%. A rap group quickly emerged from New York City in 1987, calling themselves De La Soul, and they composed their lyrics based off themes of love, friendship, and affection. According to the NYC Journal of Public Health, depression rates dropped 10% throughout the 90s, as the hip-hop culture flourished and unified the city of New York, continuing to impact society even in modern day.